SALT and PEPURR is an acronym that I use to help me remember the adjusting journal entries. It helps with every adjusting journal entry except for the amortization. And it looks something like this. We create circles. Each circle represents a type of account. So we have two groups of 3 circles on our page. And each circle represents a letter in PEPURR. But to back up a little bit, the acronym SALT stands for Simply Awesome Learning Technique. And you're all allowed to groan because that's what my students do when I introduce this face-to-face. And the acronym PEPURR is the one that helps us remember the adjusting journal entries. And we put the acronym PEPURR on the circles like this. The first circle stands for P, and then we put E up here, and the second P here. And then we have the U, the R, and the R. Now these letters stand for types of accounts that we've been using in the adjustment process. The first P is prepaid, then E are expenses, and then we have P for payable. The U is for unearned revenues. The first R is for revenue, and the second R is for receivable. Now these circles are attached with arrows. Now these arrows mean that in an adjusting journal entry you can use 2 of these accounts in your journal entry, but they have to be attached by an arrow. If they're not attached by an arrow, then you can't use them in the journal entry. You also can't skip over this invisible wall that separates one group of circles from another. So you can't use expenses and revenues in the same journal entry. You can't use payables and receivables in the same journal entry. So you can't go over this wall to get to another account. When you are looking at this first group of circles, when you make an adjustment to a prepaid account, the amount that you want to transfer to an expense account is the part that's used. So only the used part gets transferred to that expense account. When you look at the expense and payable section, this section refers to accrued expenses. So for every journal entry that you're recording for accrued expenses, you're going to debit the expense and credit the payable account. When you look at our second group of circles, when you look at unearned and revenues, the amount that you're going to take out of the unearned account relates, and the earned part always gets transferred to the revenue. If it's not unearned, it can't stay. It's going to go into the revenue part. The second deals with the accrued. So for every accrued revenue, we are going to debit the receivable account and credit the revenue account. Hopefully this little acronym will help you to remember how to make those adjustments when they're all mixed up together.